Hey, so I'm back with another video, and after actually almost half a year, or more than half a year, and I thought I'm gonna restart this channel with a different kind of videos. And I've mentioned several times that I have a metal detector, and as you can see, I'm holding it right now. So I was thinking I'm gonna actually make these videos about metal detecting from now on, and you know, about nature as well, because I mean, you metal detect outside in the nature. So I thought I'm gonna make these videos a little bit educational. I'm gonna be showing you how I metal detect, what kind of settings do I use, how various different targets look before I dig them. And I have a limited battery. I lowered the quality of these videos so I can capture more footage, so hopefully I can cover most of today. Yeah, I'm in an actually very interesting location, which is a village that is over 1,000 years old, and it's one of the oldest villages in the country. So I think we can find some interesting things here. But yeah, so I just started right now, and it's a beautiful day. It's quite warm considering it's winter. That's why I got out, because I thought, yeah, the soil is gonna be more loose, more soft, so it's gonna be easier to dig. But anyway, without further ado, let's start with some setting of the detector. So what I do, by the way, I have a Minelab Manticore, just so you know, and a pinpointer Minelab Pro Finder 40. But before I start, I'm gonna just find the ground where there's no soil. Sorry, ground where there's no soil. That would be an impossible task. But no, ground where there is no metal first, which is here. And I am going to do a ground balance, which is the first thing you want to do when you come to a new location. So I'm going to do a ground balance. We're getting 5, nice. So when the number's stable, you know that you got your number. And then recovery speed's 4. Noise cancel, going to do noise cancel as well. Yep, and that's it. Yeah, we got recovery speed 4, and we got sensitivity 26. So without further ado, let's start. Let's start and see. By the way, I'm gonna start here on this field because the soil here is pretty loose, and I'm gonna move towards the forest over there. So I'm gonna be continuing in the forest mostly, because that's where the soil is loosest, let's say, like easiest to dig in the winter, because it's protected by the leaves and by the forest, by the trees. And yeah, that's where I'm gonna go. So that's like, that's one of the, I would say, disadvantages of winter, of course, is that you're limited to where you can actually go detect, because fields and meadows are mostly, depending on where they are, but if they're in a valley somewhere, then those are usually out of the question, because they're too frozen stiff, for you to dig. So you would spend incredible amount of energy and time to just get through that first frozen layer to your target. So that's not where you want to be. You want to find a place which is ideally sunny throughout the day. So if it's sunny winter days, then it gets sort of more warm, therefore the initial frost layer is going to get unfrozen. And we got a potentially interesting thing here. 45, 46. Not sure if you can see the display. I hope you can. Yep, so we got 45, 46. Well, let's try and see what we have. So I'm going to pinpoint this. By the way, I'm going to lower the volume here because we don't need to. Yeah, but that's a pretty nice signal. It's not as clean as I would like it to be, but it's fairly clean, relatively deep. So we're gonna use a pinpointing, see where exactly it is. And it's supposed to be around here. All right, so that's where we're gonna make our dig. And yeah, let's see. Right over there. So make sure, I'm not sure if you can see right now well, but yeah, I'm gonna correct it a little bit. Make sure that you are making the hole big enough. You know, you don't want to dig very close to the target, because if it's a, you know, coin, it's like, especially like a hammered coin or something that is quite fragile, you definitely don't want to dig into that with your spade, you know. So you want to make sure that you're making the turf, or sort of the hole, big enough, you know. That's important. And I'm gonna whip out my pinpointer to see. So I always open up the turf like that, open up the ground this way. Then I take out my pinpointer and I try to find where is the signal, you know. If I cannot get it the first time like this, which happens quite often, I always check the turf, like the grass. I mean, if it's a grass, if you're on a meadow, I always check it from the top, because sometimes you can actually see. Yeah, so it was in the turf here, and it looks like we're close to it. And oh, there we go. And it's a cartridge. Yeah, around 40, like a signal around 40. Of course, it's not always the case, but in most cases, around 40, 42, 43, 44, 45 ID usually is a cartridge, or very often it is. Doesn't have to be, of course, it can be all sorts of things, but usually it's something that is made out of copper, you know. So in our case, it's an old cartridge. So you cover up the soil. Always, you know, like be a good detectorist and you know, make sure to cover up the soil, cover up the hole as best as you can, because, you know, it's just a good thing to do, for one, and for two, it actually, like, the holes that you leave behind, if you would leave them behind, can fill with rainwater, and animals can drown in it, you know. So, and I witnessed that. I've seen a detectorist made hole in a forest that was filled with rainwater, and there was a drowned bird in it, you know. So that's a cautionary tale, to really make sure that you cover up those holes, because they can become deadly traps for animals, you know, and you don't want that. So yeah, so we can continue on, and I'm not gonna, you know, cover my entire journey, because I'm gonna be here for a couple of hours, and I don't think the camera would cover everything, for one, and for two, you know, like, I mean, the video would be way too long. So, oh, that's a nice signal. Well, while I have the camera on, let's jig that one. See, that one's pretty clean. It's 61, 62, 63. Well rounded on the ID map. I hope you can see the ID map, by the way. Yeah, you can see it. So, yeah, pretty well rounded. That would potentially be a coin. 61, 62. Let's pinpoint it. Yeah, okay, so it's like right there. So right there, yeah. The good thing about digging in a field is that you can uncover really easily that layer with grass and make it sort of like it's like a sort of like a cork, you know, like a sort of a lid that you just lift in its entirety like this, and then you make like a nice neat square. You lift it up, you know, like this, and then you just take your pinpointer, figure out where the target is, and then just cover it up, like just you know, sort of put the lid back in place. And I can see a coin. Wow, look at that. I lifted it up and there it is, man. That's a great thing. That's a great find. See? Shit, I cannot see the display, and I'm not sure if you can see it properly. But right there, just like as I lifted the thing, there is a coin. There is a coin, and probably First Republic, Czechoslovakia. Yeah, it's probably gonna be like 1920 something. Yeah, that was pretty fast. And as you can see now, I'm just gonna, you know, like do this 1, 2, 3, and the hole is covered. So that's one of the advantages of digging in a field, in a meadow, or like, you know, a pasture, let's say. There's something like on the very surface, as you can see, 70, 72, but it's like on the very, very, very top. I don't think that's even worth digging, especially since we are in a meadow. You know, that's going to be a trash most likely. As you can see, the indicator here is showing that it's like on the very surface. It's relatively big, and it's not really on the central line. And it's big, man. It's like, look at the ID map. It's showing. So it's probably going to be something quite large. If this would be deeper, I would definitely dig it. But I'm not very keen to dig that one. There we go. We see what it is. See? It's this thing. I kind of suspect that might be the case, but it's this thing that sort of marks the borders of a land that one owns. So yeah, you know, but even if I wouldn't know that, I would still not dig it, because it's like way too on the surface, too big. It's probably most likely a trash, even though it has somewhat like good signal. But anyway, you know, I am going to continue, and I'll turn on the camera every time that I find something interesting, because again, the video would get too long if I would just keep on, you know, detecting and keep the camera on. So, you know, I'll turn on the camera whenever I have a good signal, and yeah, I'm gonna capture what I find, and, you know, give you some tips or something that, you know, might interest you if you're a beginner or not, you know. So anyway, see you in a bit when I get an interesting signal. All right, so I moved on to a section of a forest which I really like. Looks pretty good. I don't know why. It's just I have a hunch that it might be a pretty good spot. You can see there are like edges of the forest which are sort of laden with like stones. So there certainly was some sort of an activity here, human activity, and it's within the earshot of the old 1,000-year-old village where some nobility used to live. So, you know, you never know what you can find. And by the way, the reason why I started the camera here is get a very low ID signal here, 1112. It's not as deep, and it's not as clean. As you can see, it kind of it's kind of going around. You know, it's as well on the middle line, you know, the conductive line, as well as going into the lower part, which usually means aluminium. But if you get a signal like that, I recommend to dig it, even though sometimes it's really frustrating because you're digging a lot of trash and a lot of like aluminium. It could be a hammered coin. It could be really something small, you know. Or, as you can see, it also goes into the ferrous limits as well, you know. So I recommend these low ID numbers, 11, 12, when they're pretty stable like this. I really recommend to dig these because you really never know what you will get, you know. And I'm almost certain this is going to be a trashy one. But you never know, you know. Like, it can be 30 times it can be a piece of aluminum, and 31st time it will be a hammered coin. So, and you don't want to miss that chance, you know. So I recommend to dig these. And you know, at least you can sort of train your identification skills, you know, and say like, oh, I think this might be, I don't know, a beer cap, you know. And then you go on, dig it. By the way, those are the sounds you hear are roe deer males, roe deer bucks. There was one running away when I got here. Yeah, so I mean, as I said, you can sort of train your identification skills and sort of, you know, yeah, learn really well how to distinguish, like, okay, that's a piece of, I don't know, beer bottle cap, or, you know, pull tab or something. But, you know, the thing about IDs and thing about signals is that, like, sometimes you just never know until you dig it, really, you know. It looks like, okay, that could definitely be, like, I don't know, a small gold coin, or B, a ring, or C, a bottle cap. And you just don't know until you dig it, you know. That's the thing. So I cannot get a signal here from the pinpointer, so I'm gonna have to dig a little bit more. Sometimes it's really small item, you know, so you really have to be very, very close with your pinpointer to it. So it almost seems like it's not there, but it is, you know. It's just like really, either really small, you know. Sometimes you just have to get back to your detector and give it a shot one more time, see where it is. Right there, right here. So I'm gonna check if it's not in the grass, and maybe sometimes you don't interpret the pinpointing quite right, and you're a little elsewhere with your, yeah, I think it's not, no, it's not here, so it's definitely, okay. Yeah, sometimes it's worth to try before you even start digging. It's worth to try to just try the upper soil and see if it's not on the surface, so you don't even have to dig sometimes, you know. I always, not always, but often forget that I can actually do that and save myself a lot of trouble finding trash like this. As you can see, yep, that's whatever it is, you know, a piece of what is it? It looks almost like an aluminum cover that covers chocolate coins, you know, like the gold round ones, you know. Yeah, it really does look that way. That's funny. Yeah, so that can actually sound pretty good, you know, if you come across it in the terrain. So yeah, but yeah, sometimes when you get those signals and they're not as deep, try your pinpointer at the high sensitivity setting and just try to scour the surface. If you cannot find it by any chance, then you can save yourself a lot of trouble and a lot of effort digging, you know. Sometimes you dig and dig and dig and you cannot find it, and then you figure out, oh, it was like 5 centimeters away from the hole on the very surface, you know. So things like that happen, and you want to, you know, save as much energy as you can, of course, not digging unworthy signals. Anyways, let's move on. Now this one's a very interesting signal. Although, as you can see on the ID map, actually right now there's a bit of a, I don't know if you can see it because there's a little bit of a reflection, but that's a stable 26, 27, 28, and it actually, it has an ID map all across, you know, the middle, the Ferris limit as well, and all the way down to the other Ferris limits. By the way, this upper part of the Ferris limits, the one on the top, is showing items that are thin, you know, and long, usually like nails, and on the bottom it shows flat objects, you know. So sometimes when you get this kind of a signal, which like sort of goes into both, especially if it's a little diagonal, usually means that it's an item that is like a little sideways, you know, and it shows a little bit of the flat surface, but it's also showing a little bit of the thin surface, the edge surface, you know, that's why it shows that way. But this could be all sorts of things. Could be a coin. Yeah, 26, 27, and it shows that it's pretty deep. So let's definitely dig that one. See what it is. Could be really something interesting. Doesn't have to be, of course. I mean, that's always the case. But holy damn, that shows a really clean signal, the pinpointer. But unfortunately, now when I uncovered the leaves, by the way, that's another tip I want to tell you, is that when the signal is not quite clear, you know, and you're especially in a forest, you want to clear that upper layer, you know, of leaves and litter. So you just kick it away, clean it up to the very clean ground, and then you can get much closer with your coil, and that's gonna give you off a much cleaner signal. And by the way, yeah, okay, I kicked it off some more and now it's showing elsewhere, so that's a trash, unfortunately, because, you know, of course something interesting wouldn't be this on the surface, like very rarely. I mean, it could happen in a field, but in a forest, unlikely, you know, unless an animal would dig it up, which might happen, of course, but I would imagine it's quite rare. But yeah, if you get unclear signal, then you definitely want to clear that upper layer, and then it gets much more clearer. Sometimes it's showing as conductive, highly conductive thing somewhere in the middle, and when you clear it, it actually shows a ferrous item, so you know you can just pass that one if you don't want to dig ferrous objects. Anyways, let's get that one. Yeah, it's gonna be trash. Hold on, let me just get a pinpointer. But you know, it looks really nice. It could be a coin, actually, like a modern coin. I don't even know what it is, but yeah, it's a piece of aluminium, a strange piece of aluminium. So yeah, and yeah, I mean, you know, you see on all those videos, if you watch them, you see a lot of, like, you know, like amazing things and amazing finds and treasures. And I'm not saying like that's not the case when you have a metal detector and go out, that you don't find interesting things, but you know, there is so much in between that you don't see, and that of course is not captured on video. That is just, you know, you finding trash and just going out, spending hours upon hours upon hours upon hours not finding a thing and just digging up trash, you know. And that's the sort of stark reality of it that's not very often shown on in those videos. So if you get discouraged by going out and not finding anything, don't be, you know, because like eventually it's gonna happen. Eventually you're gonna find something really amazing, you know, and you'll get there. And it's really just a matter of time when you do. So you just have to be really persistent, and you just have to persevere, essentially. So, you know, like, see those videos when you like people find amazing coins and things as a motivation, rather than, oh man, I wish I would find those things. Why am I always finding trash? Because, you know, I tend to get to that kind of mindset often, because I always see people finding silver coins, and I've never found a silver coin. Actually, I did, like, years back, about 10 years ago, or 11 years ago maybe. I did find a pretty nice small silver coin, a very old one, in France, but I've never found a silver coin. And when you check like websites where people share their finds, you very often see, like, you know, such an incredible, you know, coins and all that. This is a pretty interesting signal. And I can tell you, man, I have this detector for a few months, you know. I haven't been out that much because I've been very busy over the summer. I'm probably not gonna dig that, because yeah, it looks more like it seems like a wire, because it just like shows all over the upper ferrous limit, and it's like usually something very long, which usually is a wire. So I haven't had that much time to go out with this new metal detector. I never had this like such a good metal detector before in my life. So that's a first for me. But since I had it, I haven't had a really great find, you know. Like, hell, I would go as far as say, like, not even a good find, really, like a good find, you know. And I spent tens of hours, you know, I don't know, like, I would say, like, definitely over 50 hours outside, you know, pure detecting time, 50 hours at least. And I found nothing, you know. So if you imagine, like, you know, you're out searching, and you spend 50 hours and you don't find a single interesting thing. Of course I did found something. Okay, 4748 here. That's oh, okay, interesting. There's a more things going on in there, probably some nails maybe. But yeah. Oh, interesting. There might be two different things there. Because do you hear how the signal goes from boom, 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 boom? So there's definitely two things. In my opinion, that's going to be a cartridge. Because the first signal is 49, pretty high, even for a cartridge. But yeah, could be a larger, you know, rifle cartridge, which gamekeepers use. And then the other signals might be something related to that, or it could be, I don't know, something else. But I mean, let's dig it while we have the video on. So I'm gonna lift the ground here, and let's see. All right. So yeah, man, I spend so much time outside, and it's a well spent time. It's like, you know, you're in nature, breathing fresh air. You know, it's nice, it's healthy, it's exciting, but, you know, it's, unless you're extremely lucky and you find a really, really, really incredible location, which then you go on all the time and, you know, find more things, which is great when you do. I haven't found such location yet. Then, you know, you just, you know, have to sift through hours and hours of work and, you know, finding not particular interesting things. That's the reality for the most part. And it's easy to sort of, there it is. Hold on. There. Oh, there. Okay. Is it a cartridge? Because I'm pretty sure it's a cartridge. Oh no, it's not. It's actually it's an old, very old beer cap, or not a beer cap, but the thing that covered the beer cap. It's not really being made these days, but it's like a thing that covers, sort of like if you have a champagne, so the upper, like the top that is protecting the cork, sort of. And it is, yeah, it looks like from Benishoff, I guess. Yeah, and it's pretty old. I don't know, I would say early 20th century. Yeah, but of course not a particularly desirable artifact, of course. But I think there has to be a second thing here, because it was definitely two signals that were sounding, not just one. So let's give it a shot, see if it's still there. Yeah. But it's like very... Okay. That is very strange signal, I gotta say. Looks pretty big, and it's right here. Should be right here. I mean, hell, let's try. I mean, it's probably a big item. Looks like it might be like elongated, and it's somewhere right in here. I think it's gonna be like maybe some piece of metal, maybe from some machinery that, you know, used to log trees, or from a tractor or something like that. Or it could be a piece of wire. I mean, that's a possibility as well. By the way, I'm gonna show you a thing I have, which is this handy thing from Minelab. It's a little spade, and I really like to use it whenever I get close to a signal and I don't know what it is, and and I'm not sure if it might be a coin or something, I'm still not sure if it's a trash or not, then you definitely want to use something that's not going to damage the artifact. So this is a brilliant one that I've been using for a while, which is made from hard plastic. It's really, really hard, really sturdy, even though it's plastic, and is really handy for that very fine work when you're getting close, you know, to that thing that you want to try to find. Then you want to take this out, not use this metal big spade. You know, you don't want to use that because you can really, really badly damage your artifact, and you certainly don't want that. So you take out this little one and you start to uncover, but little by little you uncover the thing, and I can see it already, you know, and I take it out and you see it's a piece of trash. It's a lid of some sort. Yeah. You know, so, but, you know, if it would be a nice signal, you know, and it might be a coin or look like a coin, you definitely want to take this out, because you don't want to risk scratching or bending or hell even breaking a coin or some old artifact. And this one is brilliant for that, to use, you know, to sort of first use the big one to sort of, you know, uncover the soil, get the most of the dirt out, and then you want to finally, you know, slowly find what you're looking for with this guy. So that's just my recommendation. I've seen a lot of detectorists using metal spades, and even the small ones. I would never use that ever, because it's such a risk that you're going to scratch something or break or bend or damage the artifact, and I really don't want to take that risk, you know. Even though, you know, as I said, I haven't found any particularly interesting item for a long time, and not with this metal detector, I haven't found any at all, you know. And I would love to find a silver coin, or hell, of course, a gold coin. I mean, that's a dream of everyone, I guess, doing metal detecting. But hell, like for me, silver coin, from my dreams, like a really like a medieval silver coin, that would be, oh my, it would be absolute dream come true. And you know, when I get to a signal that sounds interesting, even though, you know, like 9 out of 10 times, or hell, 9.9 out of 10 times, it turns out to be a trash, you don't want to risk it. You definitely don't want to risk it, because that one time it can be, you know, gold coin. You can be reckless and you can be like, yeah, whatever, another pull tab or another beer cap, and you're gonna dig with the big spade, you know, to save time, and you're gonna damage the coin, and you're gonna regret it for the rest of your life. I mean, probably not for the rest of your life, but you know what I mean. Anyways, that was a little bit of a couple of tips, and I'm gonna move on. Another thing I wanted to give you a tip on, you know, is when you have a signal that is not quite clear, like this one, say, you know, it goes all over the place. If you check the ID map, it's like, you know, you're not quite sure what's going on in there, right? You know, so when that happens and you're not quite sure, change your position when you're at, you know, where you're swinging. So if I do this right now, the ID map becomes way clearer. As you can see, it's all in the Ferris limit now, almost all. So, you know, okay, so that's some iron item, some ferrous item that I don't want to dig. At least I don't want to dig it, you know, and especially because this part kind of looks a little trashy, you know, so there could be some sort of, you know, trash that I don't want to dig, you know. But from this side, it might sound like, okay, maybe it's something interesting, maybe, you know. So when you do get signals like that, and you're gonna get a lot of them, even the good ones, try to change your position and see if it really sounds good or not from all the sides, because when you change the side, it actually changes the way the coil perceives the signal, you know, and that can give you a whole lot of information on what it actually is, you know, and what it isn't. So I really recommend to do that when you get that type of signal. So that was just a little bit of a tip. I wanted to give you. Anyways, this is quite interesting because there's like a lot of stones here, like a lot of stones, which are really nicely shaped, you know, almost as if, you know, they were used for like as a building material. And I'm, of course, like that's just my assumption. I don't know if that's the case, but from what I've read in the history of the village, apparently the fort, essentially, where the nobility lived, was disintegrated and destroyed during the 30-year-old war. I hope that's the right name for it. You know, usually when that happens, the stone is used as a building material for houses and for like other infrastructure. But yeah, maybe that stone could have been transferred here as well. I mean, you know, I'm just like, you know, really just sort of fantasizing right now. You know, maybe it's just a theory or just a sort of a thought. But yeah, there's a whole lot of stones here, which is really interesting. And yeah, so anyway, I'll continue search here, continue my search, and we'll see if something will pop up or not. I might even change the location, although I do quite like it here. But we'll see, you know. Got quite a lot of time today, so we're gonna see. Yeah, but anyway, see you on the next signal, I guess. There's quite a height ID signal here, fairly clean, around 75, 76, 77. You know, if it's a good thing, you know, that could have been, that could be like a larger silver coin, you know, if it's a good thing, you know. But from my experience, these high ID signals, and as you can see, the depth indicator shows that it's like on the surface, you know, which in this hill sort of terrain doesn't have to mean that much, because theoretically by erosion it could come up on the surface even if it's old. But the signal, the ID signal, is way too high in my opinion. And from my experience, what that usually is it's like these modern, of course I'm going to dig it either way, but what it usually is these modern sprays, you know, like these pressured sort of bottles that are usually like sprays or some sort of like old medical containers, you know, and they usually have extremely good signals that sound like, wow, man, this is crazy. It's like, you know, like so conductive. And that's why, that's the reason is because it's made out of like really like hefty aluminum, which is very conductive, or some other, you know, sort of metal that is, you know, highly conductive. And so, you know, I you know, like I do like these high ID signals, but I never have that much of a hope for them in a way that, like, it's just too good to be true, you know. Very often sounds too good. So yeah, it's right here. Oh, there it is. Okay, well, that's not as trashy as I thought. It's some sort of a tag. I don't know what for, but yeah, it's aluminium. That's why it had this high ID. It's quite a thick aluminium piece. And I don't know what it is, what it was for, but oh, interesting. Okay, that was not as trashy as I thought it will be. Although it's not like crazy interesting, but yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, as you can see, you know, always worth digging everything, even when the chances for trash are high. You never know what you're gonna find. Anyways, see you on the next one. Well, what do you know? I just had a signal that was like, you know, not really great, not terrible. If you get the reference. It's from Chernobyl. Anyway, and I dug it up, and look at that. It's actually really interesting. I have no idea what it is, but I first thought it's a link of a chain, but then when I looked closely, I've realized that it's actually a snake. And it's got scales, and I've never seen anything like that before. And I can see it's got a head. It's really well preserved. And it's one of the most interesting finds I have made in a long time, for sure. So I'm quite curious to find out what it is. Because it doesn't have a attachment from the backside as far as I can see. Yeah, it doesn't have anything there, so it's not like you sort of... It's not a thing that you would pin onto your clothing, you know, which is often the case with these, like, it's quite heavy too, you know, as well. Wow, it's so interesting. I love it. It's a really, really great find. And see, the signal was like, you know, not great, really. I mean, not terrible, but not great. But I'm so glad I dug it up. Wow. Okay, cool.